Have you ever had a dream in your heart that you wanted to bring into fruition? Or maybe even down the path, you found that it took a little bit of a turn in a different direction? Today we're going to be talking about the roles that we play in our lives and how our dreams lead us to the next and most important moments that know that we're on the right path and connected to our Heavenly Father.
We are so excited to welcome Brad and Shae Robins, performers in both the musical group Gentri and in commercial, film, and theater all over the nation. Brad and Shae are amazing, and we know you're going to love their message. So stay tuned to today's episode of Go and Be.
Sweet Salt. Save 15% at Siegel Book and sweetsaltclothing.com.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Go and Be. We have an exciting show in store for you today. I'm Michelle McCullough, also co-hosted with Christie Gardiner, and we are so excited to have a variety of people who come into our studio, but today we get to have some friends you've probably heard of. We've got Shae and Brad Robins here with us, who their performing history does precede them, and we're sharing some of their fun, exciting details in their bios below. But today's conversation is going to go maybe a little bit different direction because we're excited
To talk about the amazing ways that we can take our talents, our gifts, and our abilities and use them to bless other people's lives. Both Shae and Brad have extensive performing careers. Brad, as you may know, is a singer in the musical group Gentri, and Shae is a prolific actress, having just performed many starring roles at Hale Theatre, at Tuacahn, and nationally and internationally on film and in commercials.
Yes.
But these two both have a mission. And that mission is to take these gifts and talents and abilities and to share them with the world. So we're really excited to dive into how they do that today.
Okay, so we want to start with just a question that you may not be expecting, but I'm going to throw it out anyway.
Okay.
When did you know that performing was one of your talents and gifts? Like, what was that moment where you said to yourself, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is who I'm supposed to be, and it was almost like a divine God wink that said, you're on the right path?
Good
Tell us about
question.
that.
Well, for me, I grew up dancing. That's kind of how I got my start.
Mm-hmm.
And at home, I had a little thing called the Shae Show.
Of course. I love it.
Like every young kid, they love to create plays and get their siblings involved. It's like, hey, you're going to be in my video. So I constantly would write little scripts at Christmas time, my own version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, or I had the Shae Show where we had different little skits, kind of like the Amanda Show back in the day.
I love it.
And so I would do that all the time growing up, and then I just started to sing constantly around the house, and everyone was always telling me to stop singing, be quiet, be quiet. So my mom was like, I got to get this energy out somewhere. So let's throw into dance, let's throw into whatever we can in the theater. So I just started getting involved in the community, but it wasn't until I think I was 12 years old where I was in New York City for a dance competition, and we had a night off, and we went to go see Wicked, which of course. Everybody loves Wicked. And I remember sitting in the audience, 12 years old, and I had never really seen the show before. I was familiar with the music, and there was a moment in the show, it wasn't even a sad moment or something big just happened, but I just sat there and I was overcome. I still remembered this vividly, and I just started crying. And again, it wasn't even a sad moment, and I just knew in that moment, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to make people feel. So for me, that's kind of when that moment happened, and from that point on, I just was like, Mom, sign me up for everything. And so I started doing voice lessons, more dance. I got my training at BYU in music, dance, theater, and I guess the rest is history. But that's kind of my story of how I came to be an actress, performer.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing. See, I think this is so fun. This is the kind of stuff that's not in a bio.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
True. You don't talk about it.
Oh man, my story had two parts to it. The first was when I knew that I loved performing, and the next part was when I dared to let other people know that I loved performing. Because I grew up at a time where I must have been before video equipment, because I didn't have the Brad Show, and so But one thing I did have was a love for the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Yes. But I did not tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody because it wasn't cool to sing. I mean, I played sports, baseball and football through high school. But when I was on year-round school, and so every, 8 to 12 weeks, I would get 3 weeks off. And 2 days a week, my mom worked. And I made the most of those 2 days a week. I would set up my stage, and I would sing all of the hits by those boy bands. And I had choreography, and I never told anyone.
Oh, no.
And then something weird happened in 9th grade. This was, years later after elementary school. All of my buddies from the football team started joining choir. And I was just like, what are you guys doing? Like, that's not cool.
It was your best day ever, though.
I'm sure.
Secretly, I was like, yes, this is my opportunity.
My moment.
So I jumped into choir. And then unexpectedly, the choir teacher was like, hey, there's a musical coming up and you should audition. And I was like, musical? Like, yeah, right. She's like, no, honestly, you should. And so my mom she encouraged me to, we'll say that. A mother's encouragement, which as we all know, she forced me to. And so they post the cast list and I look, and it was The Music Man. Oh. And I look at the cast list and it's like, Harold Hill, Brad Robins. I'm like, crap, that's the lead. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. But my mom's like,
trouble in River City.
Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it. And my mom's like, just give it a go. And if you hate it, you never have to do it again. And I remember closing night. We did 4 shows. And this was at a little theater in Centerville called Rogers Memorial Theater. I don't even think it exists anymore. But it was a pretty cool stage for like a junior high production, right? And as we were doing the curtain call, I was the last bow of the show, closing night. I remember walking out and bowing, and there was just this crazy applause. And I remember this is like as cool as scoring a touchdown or hitting the game-winning line drive. And I was just hooked. And then the next year, my first year in high school, we did a production of Les Mis, which we may get into today, but Les Mis has played a significant role in not only my personal performing career, but that of Gentri as well. And I remember that the closing night of Les Mis, I played Enjolras, who's like the leader of the revolutionaries. And I walked out, and there were all these people wanting to greet you and thank you for the show. And this woman walked up to me, and she stuck out her hand. She didn't say a single word. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, you were amazing, or like, that was the coolest thing ever. She just looked at me, she shook my hand, and just had tears in her eyes. And at that moment, I knew this is the power of music. This is what the power of authentic, real performing can do for people. And there was just no stopping me after that.
Thank you for sharing.
Chills, babe.
Yeah, that was good. That was so good. I have so many questions that are coming to my mind, but so now fast forward to where you are now and all of the things that you have worked on. Tell me about a project or a song or a show or something that you did that solidified a little bit of your testimony and your talents and your connection to God as you kind of matured through your performing career.
Oh man. Well, I can think of, 2 moments or experiences where I feel like everything that you just said happened to me. And the first experience, I might get a little emotional because it was a very significant moment in my life. So I've had the dream since I was a little girl to go to New York and to be on Broadway ever since I went and saw Wicked at 12 years old and was inspired, this is what I want to do for a living. So obviously I trained for years and I went to college and I got my degree in music dance theater at BYU and everybody was going out to New York and being on Broadway and doing national tours. And right after I graduated, I went and performed down at Tuacahn Amphitheater. And if you haven't been, gorgeous amphitheater set up against the Red Rocks, stunning. I did that for 3 seasons. I was hooked. And anyway, but during that time, sorry, I apologize, but Brad and I were married, and I was trying to decide, okay, am I going to go after this dream that I've had since I was a little girl? But at the same time, I didn't want to make him sacrifice and give up all his dreams just for me. So we were trying to decide, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? And it was really this turmoil and this wrestle inside of me for years. Because here's this dream of this little girl, but here's this life I've now created with this person that I love. How am I going to make both work? Yes. And there was a day or a night, evening, I was driving to the theater. I had a performance, and the drive to that theater is stunning. And you would use that time often to reflect and to talk with God. And so I was driving in the car, and I was, having my conversation and praying, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I just knew in that moment that New York wasn't where I was supposed to be, and that you can create a career, you can create a life outside of New York and LA, because oftentimes we're told and taught that the only way to make it big is if you make it, on Broadway or in LA in film, theater, whatever it is, and that outside of that, you're a nobody, or how can you have a career? But so that was always hard for me as well. But when I had that moment and that clear answer, clear as day from God, I knew that okay, great, there's something else for me. And so from that moment on, and as I've done theater and commercial, TV, film, whatever in Utah, I've been blown away by the opportunity that has been here, and the people and the industry here. And so my most recent experience that I had, where I just knew Heavenly Father's looking out for me, and this is what I meant to be doing, was when I played Cinderella at the Hale Center Theater. And I loved that show. I loved that character, because what she stands for is kindness. And at the end, she has a stepmother who's just treated her poorly throughout her entire life. And at the end, her stepmother comes up and she's like, she's, the princess and the glass slipper fits. And she's like, I messed up. Can we still be friends? And what Cinderella says to her is, I forgive you. And she just shows that kindness despite the awful way she's been treated. And that role for me was magical in and of itself, because I got to be a princess.
You love being a princess.
I love being a princess. I got to wear beautiful gowns. I got to transform my dress on stage. I got to ride in a carriage singing. It's possible. And, but the message overall in that show, and knowing all the kids that were going to be there, was so special to me, because, in theater and in performance, it's hard, because it's easy to let it become all about you. Right? Because it's a very, it can be a very vain profession, you know what I mean? But it can't be. As a theater actress, as a performer, you've got to give, and give back. And that's what I felt that night during Wicked, is I felt like they were giving to the audience. And so I was inspired as a little girl. And so during Cinderella, I just said, you know what? I have this opportunity as a princess to do something and to inspire these little kids. I'm going to do what I felt at 12 years old and do my best, and to be a tool, instrument through my Father in heaven. And anyway, so that recent experience was probably, one of my favorite to date, for those reasons alone. But
yes,
I love how you're teaching us that we can take our own gifts, talents, and abilities, whatever they may be, and use them in service of other people and draw them closer to Christ. If you ask, can I be someone who draws people to Christ through being a farmer or a plumber or a mom? Yes, you can. If you can do it on the stage, you can do it.
Yes, and
right?
I love that you said, whether you're a farmer, a plumber, whatever, and at the end of the day, it's all about your interactions with other people. It's I know what we do for a living is more visible, more out there. So people think, oh, it's probably easier for you to make a difference and touch people's lives. But no, that's not true, because it's about how you treat people. And that's what my mom has always taught me. And growing up, she used to say, every day before school, have a great day and make it a great day for somebody else. And I really tried to live by that in everything that I do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I have so many questions, but I do want you to share something that you've done in the last little bit that has solidified your testimony and your talents.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes off what Shae was saying. So we have this program, online series you could call it, called Lift Where You Live, and it totally speaks to that idea of it doesn't matter where you are, where you are in the world or what you're doing. What matters is how you're going about doing it. And so basically this program is anywhere we would go on tour, we would try to, when it was feasible and we had time, we would try to identify people who were kind of examples of this, people who had been through adversity or kind of like the unsung hero, people who were just doing the right things and maybe weren't getting the recognition for it. And there were a couple of episodes that I can recall. For example, we were in this little tiny farm town up in Idaho, and there was this young man, literally, I think a year older than me, early to mid 30s, who had been diagnosed with ALS, and he was kind of on his last part of life, basically. And he was bedridden. He was speaking to us through one of those machines where your eyes, have to type out the words. And I remember just feeling this unbelievable spirit as we were there. It was actually Christmas time, so we sang a few Christmas songs. His wife was there holding his hand, and his name was Wyatt. And we were just like, Wyatt, like, you're just this amazing example of strength. And he took his minute to type out his message. He said, I'm just a man. And basically what he was trying to say by that is just like, I'm just trying to lift where I live, trying to do my part in the capacity that I'm able to do it right now. And his wife has continued, he's since passed on, but his wife has continued to raise their children and lift where she lives. She's just been an amazing example of someone who, in spite of adversity, continues to move forward, continues to just bless the lives of those around her. And in fact, as we were leaving, we thought we were the ones going there to give something to her. She gave us a little carving of a nativity. And she said, like, this was mine and Wyatt's mission this Christmas, to make sure that we spread the spirit of Christmas with everyone who we came in contact with. And it was just extremely humbling that, again, like, we were supposed to be doing the giving, we were supposed to be doing the serving, and yet they were so insistent that, like, they were the ones that were giving back.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
That's so brave.
Right?
When you talk about lifting where you live, it sounds really great and exciting, but it takes quite a bit of bravery, right? Yeah. And how do you encourage people if they're sitting home being a parent, or if they're just out in their lives, how do you encourage them to get brave? Because what you do is brave. One day it's like, oh, I have to go be in a boy band?
Grandma's favorite boy band.
That's how I'm supposed to lift where I live? Yeah. You're like, how do you do that?
I think it comes down to just getting up and doing it. It's about acting. I mean, faith is a principle of action. And it's incredible to me that when you start to exercise faith, how quickly fear dispels. I mean, again, you should have seen the look on my dad's face when I told him at age 28 I was going to be in a boy band. That is the dream that all fathers have for their sons in their career, right? But it was just one of those things where, like, it felt right. I knew it was supposed to happen. The other guys knew it was supposed to happen, and we just marched forward. And I think the other thing that is important for people to understand is a lot of these moments of, we'll call them quiet brilliance, aren't going to come with a lot of fanfare, and that's okay. And Shae kind of hit on the head. It's like, being a performer does have those aspects of visibility that make it seem a little more glamorous, a little more maybe impactful, but the reality is I would say some of the most amazing experiences have happened off stage, behind the scenes, that no one will ever know about. And frankly, I think that's where the real amazing things happen, right? It's not going to be the big fanfare, the high visibility. No. And frankly, those are going to be the things that matter the most, because when the camera's not rolling and you're giving of your time and you're giving of yourself, people are going to react to that because they know that you have no other motive other than to, follow the example of he who did it best.
Absolutely. And what I love about that is just the reminder that whether your life is public or it's just public to the 3 people that are in your home, or if it's all by yourself, it takes a fair amount of the same kind of bravery to get up every day and to do whatever it is you want to do. And I think that when we know who we are, whether that's a parent or a teacher or a performer or whatever, I still have to talk myself into getting up out of bed in the morning sometimes. And I still have days where I feel like, it's all right. We don't need to do that today, right?
Oh, I feel you.
And so I think that same kind of bravery and that faith works in whatever our life's work is, if we're willing to push past those moments, even the adversary that creeps in and says, hey, you shouldn't do that, or hey, you might have had that experience before, but now I'm going to tell you something else, and you're really not cut out for this, and that self-talk that comes in. So do you have any thoughts, what has worked for you? Because I'm just guessing, but I'm sure you've had some of those moments where you have felt like, I don't know if I can do this, or this isn't the right thing for me, or I feel really nervous. What are some of the ways that you reconnect with yourself and reconnect with God that help you to move forward?
Man, that is a good question, and that is still, Brad knows, like, can be a daily battle for me, and I think for most women and even men, like, we struggle with that sometimes. Like, are we good enough? And I think I grew up with this need and this feeling to be perfect. We all feel that way at times. We need to be perfect. We need to be, whatever it is. And so that's hard for me because I've always set this level and this standard of perfection. And that's unattainable. It's not realistic. There's only one perfect person to ever walk this earth. And so some days I get up and I can't get up and I don't want to get up. And what helps me is surrounding myself with people that are going to love and support you unconditionally. Like this man right here. I chose good.
Excellent.
So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Brad, did you have anything you wanted to add in terms of what gets you through on those hard days?
Yeah, I echo what Shae said. You know, things are not what they appear, and social media just perpetuates that, right?
Right.
And everyone is going through something. It was, President Hinckley's wife that said, "Be kind. Everyone you know is fighting a hard battle."
Right.
And I feel like that's been one of the good things of COVID. I feel like has been it's at least for me, has made me more sensitive to the fact that everybody is just doing their darndest to trudge ahead, to put one foot in front of another. And on those days where I experience those feelings, because as performers, like our industry disappeared overnight.
Right.
You talk about
Yes.
feeling frustrated.
Everything's canceled.
Man, uncertainty.
Yep.
It's like just like that. And we have no idea when it's going to normalize, if it's going to normalize, what the new normal will even look like. For me, it's remembering the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And I think that more than anything has been the ultimate motivator. And whether we've had to adjust the strategy or do things in a completely different way, it's made that change a little easier because at the core of it, we still are marching forward with the same purpose. This was never about us. This was about using the talents that we have, because we don't have some of the talents that other people have. So we have a choice. We can either envy other people for the talents they have that we don't, or we can make the best use of what we do have and just move forward, and that is enough.
Yeah. And I love this idea of lifting where I am, because no matter what uncertainties face us, and this may not be it, we don't know what we're in for, but every day we can say, Heavenly Father, how do I lift today? How do I lift where I've landed today?
I love that. Okay, so we love to. It's so sad that our time is coming to a close because you guys are so great and easy to talk to. But I want to have you answer our question that we give to all of our hosts, and that is, if you could give our audience one piece of advice about how to go and be in the world, what would that be?
Well, first of all, I just love that phrase in and of itself, go and be. And I think for me, it would be, simply put, go and be you. For me, I feel like another internal battle is this constant need to please others and to be something or someone I'm not at times. And I think the best thing we all can do for ourselves and for everyone else around us is just to go and unapologetically be you. Be goofy, be silly, be whatever it is that you are enough, and that is good enough. So I think that would be my message, is just go and be you.
Awesome, thank you.
Wow, that was great. If I had to pick one phrase, it would be dare to dream. Back in 2015, it was the first song that we released, first original song that we released, and that was the mantra. And it told the Gentri story. Just three regular guys who literally out of nowhere, on a whim, decided to form a boy band. And it was crazy, it didn't make sense, it was a little bit irrational, and yet we chose to do it. We dared to do it. And we marched forward confidently, and we battled the voice in our heads saying, you're an imposter, like what business do you have doing something like this? And I think that means so much to me, because every day we should get up and we should dare to dream. Just because we're not where we want to be doesn't mean that we can't choose to try to be great today, regardless of what it is we're doing, whether we're starting a business, whether we're trying to rekindle a relationship. Like, it does not matter. Whether you're going out and being a musician or a performer, it doesn't matter. Dare to dream big. We have every right to shine. I forget who that quote's by. We've all heard it. We're afraid to shine, to be great, because who are we to be those things, right? And then I think right after that, the quote says, well, who were you not to be? You're a child of God. You were put here to shine, to be a light.
Marianne Williamson.
There it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
of course.
Yeah. So that would be that's my mantra. Dare to dream.
Thank you.
Really beautiful. We are so happy that you were here with us today.
It's such a
Right?
pleasure to talk with you guys because you two are just like lights and inspiration in and of yourselves, you know, for all the people out there. And so thank you for having the show and for what you do.
Yes. Oh, we love you guys. We just want to encourage you to take today's messages into your life. No matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter who you're trying to be, just dare to dream like Brad's encouraged us. Just be you like Shae's encouraged us. Go forward, go and be.
Sweet Salt. Save 15% at Seagull Book and SweetSaltClothing.com.